Hello, my name is Rachel Butcher, and today I'll be talking to you about Proposition 16 and how it's affecting communities and academic institutions throughout California, especially within the University of California schools. I'd like to start off with what is the issue exactly, and what impact has it had, as well as who's been affected. Then, where is the issue and why is this happening? Fourth, what has been the response to this issue and who has gotten involved? And lastly, what can we do and why is it important? The question of what would you do if you were denied admission from your dream school is a very real question that thousands of students have asked themselves who were denied admission from UC schools. Over 750 African American, Latino, and Filipino American applicants with grade point averages of 4.0 or better were denied admission, while white students with 4.0 GPAs or better had a 48.2% chance of admission, Latino students 39.7, African American 38.5, and Filipino students with a 31.6% chance. This issue, along with pushing qualified students into less prestigious schools, creating wage gap between men and women faculty members, and wages being lower for minority students after graduation, creates the lack of representation, inequality within admission, and pay gaps from the University of California. This image shows the university new freshman admissions by ethnicity. This means that admission from UC schools who are prohibited from considering any applicant's race, gender, sex, and etc. when accepting applications to join the freshman class are supposed to be helping level the playing field and promote a healthy, diverse society. But instead, it's leaving room for a different form of discrimination, where admissions will favor one group over another based off racial or gender preferences instead of actual academic achievement. This has been most apparent on the UC Berkeley campus, where the admission rates for African American Latino students have significantly dropped since the passing of Proposition 209. The students are sick and tired of the lack of diversity on campus and have instead turned to voice their concerns to their own campus and university, as shown in the image here. They want to be seen as equal, not just a number on a form. These minority reports show that the worst cases are in the most prestigious UC schools such as UC Berkeley and UCLA, where by race, the difference is significantly lower for these prestigious schools compared to the high school graduates that are enrolled in other colleges by race. And while the Hispanic and Black numbers continue to go down, they go up in any other college and university. This shows the most impacted communities that Proposition 209 has affected has been the African American, Latinx, and female staff amongst UC schools, with African Americans being the lowest percentile, Latinx being the second, and the female staff, who made up 37% of the UC's new hires, which was a record high at the time in the 90s, but numbers since then have fallen significantly amongst UC schools. The change in admission rates can be seen here, where the statistics and percentages of people of color can be seen to be quite lower than that of their white and Asian counterparts, and this was just a study done from 1997 versus 1998, when Proposition 209 was first enacted. As you can see, Black or African American students are the lowest percentage with negative 9.1. Then Native American, Chicano, and Latino come in third and fourth. Here you can see Proposition 209's effect on Black and Latino in UC admissions. This particular statistic measures the UC system as a whole versus just UC Berkeley, where UC Berkeley's statistics measure way worse than the actual system as a whole. UC Berkeley offers way less diversification amongst American Indians, African Americans, and Latino, and their numbers you can see in red that are far less than the UC system. And this study was done in 2010. Now going back to the women. In 1998, women accounted for 27% of UC's new hires, in a year where they earned 48% of doctorates awarded to US citizens. The inequality in this study was quite appalling, as the UC's new hires didn't measure up to the awards and achievements these women worked hard for and earned. And it got even worse when in 2001, a group of female professors went up against the UC Board of Regents and came to present their study that only 2 years ago, there was unfair treatment in the workplace. The Board of Regents admitted to discriminating against these women, but yet no real change has been made. This next study shows the faculty and senior leadership in California public higher education. This is from community colleges, state colleges, and University of California schools. Here you can see that over 50% of staff and administration are white, whereas less than 15% are Latinx and less than 10% are African American. And the University of California has the least percentage of people of color in their faculty and administration, according to the CSU and UC InfoCenter study done in 2016 and 2017. But how has this issue become so apparent? Part of the reason is because there has been an overwhelming discovery of college scandals on the UC Berkeley campus, where in the Varsity Blues scandal, which was an FBI investigation, it got uncovered that 64 students were involved with admission tampering, whether it was false documents or even illegal SAT taking. The most apparent were parents who made large and generous donations to the school, which just went to show that there was a priority of richer students who had friends in the right places, who were favored over those students who used hard work and dedication to get where they are. One of the most famous cases and very public cases was of David Sidhu, a Vancouver businessman and prominent figure of the University of British Columbia athletics program, who allegedly paid a test taker to sit in on his son's SAT to help him gain admission to UC Berkeley. As one of the cases uncovered in the FBI investigation, allegedly Sidhu paid $200,000 for someone to take the SAT for his son. His son sent the false test scores to Yale, Georgetown, and UC Berkeley, which he later enrolled in. Yet this was just one of many cases. After Berkeley underwent an audit, it was revealed that they had accepted 42 students of whom the admission office owed favors to their families, or their families became donors and were related to or connected to the university staff and did not demonstrate competitive qualifications for admissions. These students were not athletes nor scholarly academics. The most pressing matter was that former University of California Board of Regent Richard Bloom inappropriately wrote a letter that helped an unqualified student get into UC Berkeley. The problem of the ban on affirmative action is one that has been plaguing high school seniors and UC students, including UC Berkeley, for 24 years, and they've come up with some quite creative responses, some of which involve protesting as well as using the power of faculty and the ASUC, which is the Associated Students of University of California, Berkeley, who have been pushing the UC Board of Regents to side and vote yes on Prop 16. This issue of Prop 16 has brought together students in the most unlikely of ways. There have been students rallying around campuses in support of affirmative action, as it can help so many students, no matter race, sexuality, or gender. And that is why they've been coming together in the most beautiful and unlikely of ways. The ASUC is a great resource where students on the Berkeley campus have come together in support of Proposition 16. They believe that having a diverse student body is an integral part of a holistic, world-class education. And for such a prestigious university that has such a prominent and innovative status in the world, it's important that they make sure the campus community reflects not only the diversity of California, but the world. This is why they've been using social media as such a great outlet to get their message out. And much like the ASUC, what can we as a society do to support Proposition 16? First, we can educate ourselves. By understanding what's on the ballot, we can make more informed decisions and help the communities that are most affected by these propositions. Next, we can support. Support can come in various forms. We can use social media like the ASUC to help educate ourselves and advocate. We can also support in person. This can come in the form of protesting. Protesting is a great way to peacefully advocate for Proposition 16 and use your voice for good. And last, but the most important, is to vote. By voting, you are actively pushing the proposition into motion so that it can become reality. Voting is the real way to enact change. And there are some great groups such as the NBA who are helping support Proposition 16 because they know it's the right thing to do. And if you are eligible to vote, make sure that you continue to advocate for Prop 16 because it's so important to spread the message of breaking down systematic racial barriers and leveling the playing field for all Californians. This provides equal opportunities for everyone, no matter the color of a person's skin nor the money in their bank account, because everybody deserves the chance to a great education without worrying about being overlooked in favor of a person's skin tone. And that's why it's so important to advocate and become knowledgeable of Prop 16.